All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting episode of The Legend of the Three Kingdoms. Yes, this is one of my homebrew D&D campaigns, my weird, messed up homebrew D&D campaign setting, and the people below me. We're all trading stories about how fun it is to work in customer service. Fun facts that I have learned about just the U.S. economy. Almost 80% of all jobs in the U.S. The U.S. job market are in the service industry. Which is always why I find it really funny when people go, well, this should be a national holiday so everyone can have off of work. No, 80% of employees in the country would not have that day off of work because they still work Christmas and Thanksgiving. The idea that a national holiday somehow gives you the day off of work only works if you have like an office job. The rest of us, the majority of us, work on holidays.
Also,
Sometimes we get holiday pay. Not
also,
always.
don't show up to a store on a holiday that you think they should have off and go, they should send you home. You're here!
We wouldn't be here if you weren't here. I remember when I was still working in office supplies. Let's put it that way. That was when it was becoming really, really popular for doorbuster deals to happen on Thanksgiving Day. And I told them flat out, because I worked every Black Friday, was required because I was a manager. Worked every Black Friday while I was in retail. But I told them flat out, I said, I will not work on Thanksgiving. Well, that's Black Friday. No, it's not. Thanksgiving is Thursday. Black Friday is Black Friday. I don't care that Walmart is opening up at 8 p.m. on Thursday. I don't care that you want to open it up. I'm not working on Thanksgiving. That didn't work. But it was fun to say.
And now I know I think a few years ago a bunch of stores were like, we've decided we're not going to open on Thanksgiving and we're going to give our employees that holiday because they weren't making money that day anyways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no shit. Yeah, people aren't showing up. That's how it works. You don't show up.
It was my favorite because they sent a
Funny
huge
that.
message. Again, when I was working in retail, they sent us this massive message of we care about our employees. So we're not going to open our stores on Thanksgiving Day. We want you to spend time with your families. And everybody that read it went, bullshit. You just didn't like that you weren't making enough money. Anyway, another fun fact. According to the Small Business Association, 99.9% of all businesses in the U.S. are small businesses, which is defined as less than 500 employees. So think of any really popular business you can think of that isn't Walmart or some massive chain like that. The entire business has a less than 500. Most of them have less than 100. The idea that, all of these businesses are huge. No, the vast, vast majority are tiny little mom and pop businesses. That's what drives the U.S. economy. So, cool stuff like that. Announcements.
Also, please be nice to people on Friday.
Please be nice to people for this entire holiday season. Like, it is rough working the holidays in retail. It really, really is. And it's not their fault they're out of the doorbuster. They want more. They want to give you more. They have no control over it.
How about being nice to people? Union.
I mean, that too. I think we've just gotten to the point where we realize it's too big an ask to ask people to not be assholes. So we kind of narrow it down to, can you just not be an asshole to this group of people for this tiny bit of time? Be an asshole everywhere else. We understand that it is your right to just completely overreact to things and take out your anger on people that can't tell you no. But just for this tiny bit of time, can you not be the scum of the earth? That's all we're asking. We're not asking you to be a good person. We're just asking you to be a less bad one.
Number of times where I was on the floor, and people like, I worked at several retail jobs, and well, you should fix that. Something on the corporate level, you should fix that. Okay,
These
I have
prices
all-
are too high.
I'll get right on that after I'm done restocking this shelf on the Skeleton Hour crew.
Yeah.
I'll get right on the economic marketing.
That was a super fun, and they would deal with people that are like stocking shelves, which is, if you're not familiar with how retail works, generally the people stocking shelves are stocking shelves because we can't trust them with anything more complicated. That's why we will have people that all they do is stock shelves, because they're just untrustworthy. It's not that managers can't do it, and I as a manager did stock shelves, but it didn't happen often because it's the easiest, most simple thing in the world, and we generally could get absolute morons to be able to do it. My favorite thing in the world was customers that come up to someone stocking shelves. Are you the manager? No, they're not. They're not even stocking the shelf right. Did you notice how all the products are upside down? If that was a manager, they would be fired. Oh, man. Anyway, so, actual announcer moments. I think yesterday or the day before, because D&D Beyond has decided that I'm not supposed to have money anymore, they released another third-party supplement. This one, I can't remember who did this one. Sources. Free League. Free League. Free League is actually the company that makes an RPG called The One Ring. I think I have the first edition of the One Ring RPG system. They have a second edition. But it's a really cool RPG system that is officially licensed Lord of the Rings RPG system. Well, they also have a D&D 5th edition version of that, where it's just a conversion of D&D 5th edition that you can use to play Lord of the Rings games. And it is now available on D&D Beyond. You can pick it up. It comes with, I think it's like 8 new classes that are designed specifically to work with the Lord of the Rings kind of style of stuff, and there's a bunch of... It is basically a total conversion mod for D&D 5th edition. And yeah, you can now get it on D&D Beyond. It means you can create the characters in the D&D Beyond character builder, which is really, really nice. And you can use all the maps and everything and the monsters in the D&D Beyond Maps tabletop, which is becoming a much better tabletop than it used to be. It's still not quite as nice as even Roll20, which is kind of a bare bones tabletop. But it's very, very quickly becoming a very, very nice... If you run Dungeons and Dragons, Maps is really, really nice. Because you can... if you're running something that's pre-written, I think almost every single adventure that you can buy on D&D Beyond, you can now just drag the maps over. Any monster in the monster manual, you can just drag over and drop on to the map. It'll put its token out and everything like that. It'll track hit points for you. It's actually a really nice tabletop. It's just exclusively D&D right now. And it's missing a few other things like Roll20. One of the features I use all the time is the music player, because it's really, really nice to have ambiance and battle themes and stuff like that. So I don't think they have that in the D&D Beyond Maps yet, but I think that's something that they eventually plan on having, because it's really an essential part of a virtual tabletop. So anyway, if you are a fan of Lord of the Rings, it's definitely an interesting thing. I want to check what's the actual prices right now. Yeah. The normal price for it is $40. For whatever reason, it's either on sale right now for $30 or because I have something out, like I have the legendary pack. I don't know if this is a discount that I'm getting specifically. But as of right now on my computer, it says you can get it for $30. Which, for the amount of content that's in there and the amount of changes that it makes to 5th edition so that it works with the Lord of the Rings, it's a good price for basically a new system. Also, the artwork is gorgeous. Like, oh man. I'm a sucker for a TTRPG with not just a cohesive art style, but a very, I don't want to say unique, but a very clearly defined art style. And I think, especially the 5.5 stuff, there isn't as much cohesion with the art style as there was in some of the other stuff. Like, they have a little bit more variation. And the Lord of the Rings role-playing, they have a very, very defined art style, and it just looks so gorgeous. So, anyway, cool stuff like that's going on. Other announcement, this is my final D&D game I will be running for the rest of the year, starting this Monday. So, December 2nd, at 9 p.m. Central Time, I will start, we will be having our session 0 for my Metroid-themed tabletop RPG. We're going to be using the Lancer tabletop RPG system. I think everybody here is going to be playing, and then we will also have my buddy Elias, who knows significantly more about Metroid than I will ever know. So, yeah, Session 0 is next Monday, less than a week away, and it's going... we're going to be building our characters. I'm going to be explaining a little bit more of the setting. I'll be explaining mechanics and stuff like that, so you guys have a little better understanding of the stuff that you guys want to do to build your characters. And should be fun. This is, I think, the 4th year that I've been running different TTRPGs for the month of December, and it has almost always been an incredibly fun experience for everyone involved. The first year I did it, I tried a different RPG every week, and that was a bit of a nightmare.
Jody almost died.
It was, oh man, what did I do? I did Cypher, Library Cats.
Dune,
yeah, I did Dune. I had one other that I can't remember what it was. But
they were also different groups too.
Yeah, and that was the other thing. It was just a nightmare. Is each different week I had a different group of people playing, and scheduling. Yeah, Scott's just always there. Like if I was to run Watch Paint Dry, the TTRPG, Scott would be there, and we would watch paint dry together. So. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I've been doing a lot of work. I have a name for it. We're calling it Metroid Inquest. I have a cool logo for it. I'm going to be probably finishing the rest of the assets for it, like the stream overlays and everything, over the next week or two. And then, yeah, we have a single session 0. We have 4 sessions all happening on Monday nights. I won't be running D&D at all or running streaming anything on Wednesday nights for the month of December. And then it's over. It's quick. It's fun. I have a blast every single year. So Yeah, so definitely tune into that. Any other announcements or stuff that's going on in the TTRPG world? Everybody is having sales right now for TTRPGs. So if there's a system that you've been wanting to pick up for a little while, there's a good chance that you can get it cheap right now.
We will tomorrow or Friday.
Yeah. Humble Bundle currently has a Pathfinder 2nd Edition bundle that has, I think, almost every source book released for Pathfinder 2nd Edition, aside from the Advanced Player's Guide, which I've never understood why it's never a part of their bundles. They have books that have come out after the Advanced Player's Guide, but for whatever reason, they'll never put the Advanced Player's Guide, which is the only book I want. But yeah, if you're interested in getting into an extremely overcomplicated and over-designed system, it's a nice, really cheap way to do it. And it comes with a shit ton of stuff. Like, it's not just like the core book and a couple adventures. It's the core book, a couple different monster manuals, the Dungeon Master's Guide, a bunch of other supplements, a ton of pre-written adventures, including a bunch of Pathfinder Society stuff. Like, it's a ton. It's like $300 or $400 worth of stuff, and I think you pay like $30 or $40 somewhere in there. So it's a fantastic way to get the majority of a system for a really, really cheap price. I think the G.I. Joe TTRPG is in its last day of its bundle. If you wanted to get into the SS20 G.I. Joe system, I think they have one other system that they're doing right now. And then there's things like Bundle of Holding has a bunch. I think have 4 different bundles going on right now, and Drive Through RPG has their kind of like Christmas Black Friday sale. Amazon right now, they have buy 2 get 1 free RPG books if you want to buy physical books, and a lot of them are on sale. So this is a nice time of year to kind of pick up stuff that you been meaning to pick up for a decent price. Anything else going on in the TTRPG world? Cool. Well,
Right now, we're all just trying to wrap the year up and not have everything burned down.
yeah, we're just trying to survive the end of the year, guys. So I will reiterate this because it is so important. Please, for the love of God, be nice to the retail employees. Their life already sucks. Trust me, your life is better than theirs. I will guarantee, if you have the money to shop right now, your life is better than theirs are right now. Also, whoever thought that spitting at a retail employee because something was too expensive was a good idea needs to be shot.
Yeah, by the way, every year, every employee gets more and more threadbare.
Yeah, like
You really are pushing it. And by the way, technically, that is also assault.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, there's tons of stuff that. Here's another fun fact. When you are working for a corporation, because you are their representative, they can choose to not press charges, and you can't. There have been quite a few situations where I had associates that wanted to press charges, but loss prevention said no. So, and it's significantly more complicated than that, but what it boils down to is if you press charges, you will be fired. So yeah, this is not saying go and assault people because they won't press charges. You screw up enough, they will. But it's not fair to antagonize these people when they don't have the same rights that you do in that particular instance. The joys of retail. I have so many stories of just nonsense stuff that happened. And I worked office supplies. Like, I wasn't even working like big box, multinational corporation that if it was its own country would have like the 13th largest GDP in the world.
Yeah. I can still remember to this day, I used to work at a pizzeria and had gotten really busy. I was hustling around and I had a customer who just look at me and go, I really appreciate the fact that you were hustling your butt right now. Just recognizing the fact that I was trying my hardest. That still makes me feel good to this day. That's how
Also,
much kindness can go.
another thing, if you're ordering delivery, two things. One, always tip because their lives suck. I know this from working delivery. Second of all, the delivery charge is not a tip. They don't see a penny of that. It goes directly to the business. I get it. You don't like that they're arbitrarily charging you an extra $7 for delivery. That doesn't help the driver in any way, shape, or form. It's a corporate decision. Tip your drivers. Even if they give you bad service, tip them.
The bad
Unless,
service the bad service might even be because of the driver. It might still be because of the business.
yeah, like
Yep.
so many things they have no control over. I kid you not. I was delivering pizza. I used to work for a well-known pizza delivery, a company that made their name off of delivering pizzas in 30 minutes or less. We will put it that way. Delivering to a house I'd never been to. At every cross street, I would kind of stop and look because it was the middle of the night and I couldn't, it was really, really dark. It was overcast, so I could barely see anything. And so I would stop every cross street. I would stop and stare a little bit and then get going again and trying to find this house. Got pulled over by the cops because I was driving erratically. Cop comes over and goes, hey, just wondering what's going on. I'm like, I'm delivering a pizza. He goes, what? And I just pointed him to the pizza. He's like, oh, dude, where's your topper thing? I said, this is my last delivery of the night. I literally just picked this up because no one else could do it. It's like, oh, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And I was like, dude, do you mind? The house I'm delivering to is right there. Do you mind? I won't drive anywhere, but do you mind if I just take the pizza over there? I walk over to the dude's house. The cherries and blueberries from the police car are visible. It's not like it's around the corner. They can see my pulled over car no more than 400 feet away. I get up there and I go, hey, thank you for ordering blah, blah. Here's your pizza. Super sorry. They're like, you're late. I said, yeah. I point. It's like, I got pulled over because I had a hard time finding your house. They gave me a check for exact change and slammed the door in my face. Come back and the cop's like, so everything go well? I'm like, no, it didn't. It's like, damn. Well, no ticket or anything. I'm like, thank you. I sincerely appreciate that. I'll drop off a pizza for you guys sometime. Be kind to your delivery drivers. They are people too. And just because you may not like Grubhub or Uber Eats or whatever because it's an evil conglomerate they don't care. They're just trying to make money. It's not their fault. 99% of it, it's not their fault. There is bad drivers. They're a very, very tiny minority. Most of the people, they're just trying to make a living. And, yeah, as much as it did suck delivering pizzas, I only worked 4 nights a week. And I made more money delivering pizzas than I did working 6 nights a week or 6 days a week in retail management with overtime. When you're good, you make bank. So you pay for it in sanity.
Yes.
Anyway, I think it's time for us to return to the legend of the 3 kingdoms. party has infiltrated the siblings' manor house. After having a confrontation with the two joint rulers of this town, the party realized that despite the fact that the fight did not go incredibly well for them, it went worse for the siblings. And so the party followed them back to their manor house and started sneaking around to try and find this magical carriage that seemed to revitalize the enemies instantly. After exploring for a while, they eventually did discover the carriage house where it was stored, and after a brief amount of experimentation, they were able to activate it and all gained the benefit of a long rest. Afterwards, they did what they could to attempt to disable it to prevent their enemies from using it, and as far as they can tell, they seem to have succeeded, though with how complicated and advanced this particular magic item is, none of them can be 100% certain that it will remain disabled. And that is where we return. So,
I was going to ask Jody, when we were in the carriage,
Mhm.
would I have, along with the waiting and all of that stuff, would I have been able to make food?
not inside the carriage. There's simply not enough room for you to have been able to
Okay.
whip up something. Good try, but no. That's where I will limit it. So when we when we last left you guys, it was literally right after everyone had had their long rest, and you guys had jammed one of the windows, right?
We attempted to do that to all four, but one of them took
Yeah, it worked on one of them.
between caltrops and other stuff and molasses and basically going kindergartners on a minivan.
So,
Shoved everything in there but a Lego.
not for lack of trying. Legos are just very difficult to find in Crucitalia, not in your heel. So, yeah, you guys are still in the carriage house. And as far as you can tell, you were still relatively undetected. Like, you guys, you know that there are these strange looking animated armor style things wandering around as guards. But because you were using the servants' passages, you haven't run into any of them. You guys have run into a few, what are they called? Unseen servants. So you know that is the thing here. But beyond that, you guys, as far as you can tell, have been undetected. So, what would you all like to do?
Well, first things first, before we do anything else that involves planning, Rowan's just gonna be like, "Come here." Just the group. Like, come here, and he's gonna just evangelical. Death ward, death ward, death ward.
Thank you. So we all look well and refreshed. Maybe we should try to dirty ourselves up and make it look like we're, not quite as healthy as we are right now.
Slap.
Ow.
Rowan wouldn't do that. He wants to.
So if you'd like to kind of dirty yourselves up, Vala, if you want to make, let's call it a performance check
Oh, thank you.
to see if you can make it look like everyone is still disheveled and damaged.
Well, I got a 4 on the dice, so I only got a total of 21.
Damn
I'm a bard.
bards.
That's what we do. I have a lot of theater experience. I have a lot of experience with the theater.
Bella turns around. She has the makeup from Cats on her. It's showtime. It's a deep cut if you don't know that.
You guys are trying to figure out, where did you get a leotard with fur attached? Like, I don't understand.
Do you want to know the answer? Or no, let's just keep going.
I withdraw the question. So, through cutting use of the little bit of makeup that Vala kind of keeps on her at all time, and then other stuff that you're able to find around, dirt and actual, smacking people around a little bit, you're able to create the look that you guys are significantly worse off than you actually are.
All right, now as you're limping, you want to kind of like drag the foot a little bit. Just a little scrape.
Don't
That's it.
forget which leg has the limp. It's the dead giveaway if your limp switches.
Roland just grabs his rarely used mace. Is like, you want to put your leg out? You won't forget.
I can give you a limp. So, that being said, what do y'all want to do?
Well,
I had one idea. Something along the lines of going the mundane route. I think we were on the right track with the gas. It just worked out to bad luck. But the unseen servants are using the servants' quarters, and I think we might be able to find our way to the kitchen. Do you think
Okay.
we could make? Do you think we could make like pepper bombs?
I like bomb. I'm not sure about pepper.
It's not explosive. I'm talking about pouches that you would have like various type of spices like pepper and cayenne, and that way when you throw it at someone,
Flavor Town.
you say that, but
That
I
may be
promise
my
you-
favorite thing that has ever been yelled as a combat inspiration. Flavor Town!
it's a variation of pocket
Bam!
sand.
Who
Variation on pocket sand.
McCormick.
Oh, it's amazing. Dudes,
What I am proposing is actually it actually is a thing.
it's still amazing. But no, I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah, again, the way that you guys found your way here is you, again, before you were in that hallway that had 5 different exits. So if you guys want to return back there, there's 3 more exits that you guys haven't checked. Or technically, I think it had 6 exits, but you came from one, and then there was 3 more. So there's 3 more
One,
places.
we found a
you can-
boiler room. We found some areas. That's just something Roland is proposing, because it's like going the mundane route. It would be harder for at least one of them, if not both of them.
Yeah, and you can't counterspell pocket sand.
Or pepper
Pocket spice.
flame, yeah.
I'm loving Flavor Town. I'm gonna build a character that's gonna be they're just gonna Flavor Town. Their entire gimmick.
Old Bay.
You just bought yourself a one-way ticket to Flavor Town. Yeah, I mean we can certainly try it.
Yeah.
I don't. Oh yeah.
There's probably I was just thinking out loud about that, because And as Romans would be like, if anything, if anything has the least amount of guards, I would hope it'd be the kitchen.
All right. So if that's what you all want to do, finding your way back to that central room's very simple. You have 3 more paths to choose from. And I think you guys have been going counterclockwise thus far. So you've basically gone to 4 o'clock, 2 o'clock. So the remaining ones are about 11 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and like 7:30. And then 6 o'clock takes you back to the entrance.
Since it seems like we are able to navigate this pretty easily,
Mhm.
I will retrieve my chess piece.
Okay.
And then I think we head to 11 o'clock.
Okay. So as you guys are going through this particular one, why doesn't everybody make me perception checks with disadvantage?
That means I have advantage. I mean, that means I have to just write flat roll.
Mhm.
Oh, God, I almost rolled a digital. God.
So what do we got? Vala?
22.
Cool. Argenta?
10.
Okay. Lillian?
Wow.
12. Rowan?
11.
11. Cool. So most of you guys are just kind of wandering down the hallway, not really noticing anything. Vala, on the other hand, as you are wandering around, you start hearing the faintest sound that instantly makes you, like, you feel a chill run down your spine, and for a moment you can't figure out why. But something about going down this hallway is just making you extremely uneasy. And the further you guys kind of go down this winding thing, the more you start to realize, oh, you hear music. And the particular song that you hear is a song that you heard played every single time you went to meet with the mayor of the town. This song was being played somewhere in his house. It's a very kind of simple violin concerto where it's basically a violin solo with a piano accompaniment. But every single time the mayor did something, described something horrible, every single time that you agreed to do something that you knew was absolutely 100% wrong, this was the soundtrack. And so as you're going, it takes you about 5 to 10 minutes to realize what it is. And as you kind of look around for it, you start realizing this passage in and of itself, there are little holes or little kind of, they look almost like kind of murder holes in like a tower. But they're up so high that they could never be used for that. There's not enough clearance that anyone could get up and use them to attack anyone in there. But from each one of these they're little kind of bar holes, like about that long. Each one of these, you can hear sound kind of coming through it. You can tell that this passage keeps winding on for a little bit of time, but when you eventually realize that that's what you're hearing, what would you like to do? Would you like to continue? Would you like to tell the rest of the party about it?
I will relay that to the rest of the party. I know I've heard it before. Just I have a bad feeling.
Roland kind of looks around their tongue like,
Just I wonder if we're hearing that music. I wonder if they're close by.
I mean, probably. Who else would they play it for? Is this the same person that was the famous composer we found stuff by in that other house? I want to say the name, but it's not going to be the right name. I don't want to make it. I don't want to upset you.
Unless you personally have a really good understanding of composers and that, you would have no idea if this was composed by
Rowan
them.
was asking
What?
Bala.
Oh.
Would I be able to know?
Roll me a history check with disadvantage.
'Cause I believe it was you who cracked it last time, wasn't it?
Disadvantage.
Yeah,
Oof, 19.
19. Yeah, thinking about it, it's one of those things where it's like it's at the tip of your tongue, but you can't actually remember the composer of this piece, and you're not 100%. You can't 100% say, oh no, it definitely wasn't that person. But for the life of you, you can't remember who actually composed it. It's possible it was that person, but it's possible it was someone else. And the harder you think about it, the less sure you are that you ever knew the name of the composer. You know that you never listened to this particular piece of music in your house.
Dark Lord's personal soundtrack.
If he really likes you, he sends you a mixtape. So, what do you guys want to do?
Now it's all about QR codes and Spotify.
Yeah.
It just loses some of its personality, right? You know, it's so corporified. Ugh.
Having to sit there with either two different boomboxes, or if you were really cool and you had the boombox with two different tape decks in it, and then like playing and recording and then stopping and then putting a new tape in, like that was effort. Like even burning a CD didn't have quite the same thing as a mixtape. So,
Meanwhile, Rowan's just sitting here like, if we played music, one of us usually died.
What do they have my player?
so anyway, do you guys want to continue going down this hallway? Do you want to backtrack? What do you want to do?
Can we tell which of the murder holes the music is
All
coming
of them.
from?
It seems that these things, wherever they connect to, is where the song is playing. So you get the idea that it's just that these are either like air vents or something that is allowing the sound to carry to where you guys are.
They have a surround sound.
Yeah, you guys found their home theater system.
Probably using Pandora or Spotify or something. Not
They,
paying their
However,
proper
like
licensing fees.
those of you that worked in D&D retail can totally tell that this was definitely like a Geek Squad job where like you can see that it works, but it was obviously done by people that are paid to sell things, not to actually know how to set up a good surround sound system. I'm not bitter at all about the Geek Squad in any way, shape, or form. After working as a private computer consultant and having to fix all the problems that they created.
Waiting for her to turn around and Mariah Carey is going to be waiting for us.
I don't want a life for Christmas. Nope, the song is dead.
Can somebody boost me up and see if I can peek through?
I
Yeah.
can try.
Okay. Boosting you is not difficult. as you get up there, as you look, it's pitch black. There's no light coming from it. And if you try to shine a light there, the passage itself curves almost instantly. You get an idea that this is some kind of ventilation style shaft, but it's not built. This would not be good for actually getting clean air or even bad air into a place. Go ahead and make me, let's call it insight. See if you can figure out what this is supposed to be for.
22.
22. Okay. The more you look at it, the more you realize if these are supposed to be vents, they are the worst vents ever. They are angled in weird ways. They're actually, the inside are actually lined with wood and other things like that that reflect sound really well. And that's when it suddenly kind of clicks for you. These are meant to amplify and direct sound from wherever this passage terminates. And with the 22, you think it was possibly as a way for the servants to be able to tell if someone was in the room or not. So that if the master of the house was there, they wouldn't go in. But if no one was in there, they could go in and clean and do other things like that.
Guys, I think that's an alert system, so that way we know, or servants would know that there's somebody in there. So they wouldn't just barge in, which suggests that if we continue on, we may run into them.
It's good to know, so we can go back and
We can go back and carry on with pocket spice.
well, among other, we can also get an understanding of the house before we fight. I was also, my other idea is, once I was going to suggest maybe we don't have to fight them here. We could simply bait them.
I'm okay with that idea.
Yeah.
And as we go back to the crossroads then and try the next tunnel.
Okay.
Next hallway. And as we're going, Vala is also keeping track of like what the building materials are of the home and what their flammability index is and like where the best place to start the bonfire will be.
Yeah. One thing you've noticed, all of these servants' passages are all stone, which does not burn particularly well. So you're thinking, like, whoever built this place is relatively flame retardant. Or at least the area that you have been in has been relatively flame retardant. So going in the next one, this one, unlike all of the rest of them, this one, after you go maybe about 10 feet in it, the passage itself gets colder and wetter. Like you feel the humidity just kind of rise, and it instantly starts sloping down at a pretty extreme angle. And over the next like 10 feet, you easily go down at least an entire level to maybe like a basement or sub-basement or something like that. And the architecture of this particular passage is very, very different. It goes from this really kind of refined and sealed stonework to much more kind of poorly put together stones with gaps in them. You can see bits of like moss and mold in various places. Every so often there'll be a little kind of puddle on the ground. Again, it is very, very damp. Even the walls themselves have a decent amount of condensation, not enough on them to like drip on you, aside from like a few telltale places where there is a small drip, but like the walls themselves have this kind of slimy feel to them. And the passageway itself has this like really strong kind of damp, musty smell, like you've just walked into a basement after a flood or something. And as you continue going, you eventually come to a door, and every other one of these passages, when you've come to the end of the passage, the door out of the place is a hidden door, and it's very obvious that it's designed to be very inconspicuous. This one isn't. It's just a large, heavy wooden door that's partially rotted. Not enough that there's any kind of structural integrity issues, but the wood itself was treated at one point but has never been upkept. So it's just a dilapidated looking, really, really heavy door. What would y'all like to do?
I will look at the door and see if it's trapped or locked or anything.
Sure, make me an investigation check.
28.
28. As far as you can tell, there's no trapping mechanism. There isn't even a locking mechanism on this door. There's just kind of a really simple latch system that holds the door shut very well, but seems to have no other way that, like, if you wanted to trap this door, you would have to get creative.
Okay. I think Vala will then will just open it.
Okay.
A little slowly. Peek through.
Go ahead and make me a perception check.
That is 16.
16. So looking through, the first thing that you notice, this is obviously a dungeon. Like there is no other word that comes to mind other than dungeon. You look through, you can see multiple kind of cells. You can see the dungeon itself is actually a pretty decently sized room, easily 150, 200 feet long, with multiple kind of little cell blocks. And at the very far end, you can see a set of stairs going up. So this is not the only way to get into the dungeon. Looking around, again, you can see there are some areas that are just effectively cages in the middle of the room that have like bars going into the ground and into the ceiling. And then there are other areas where there's actually walls with an actual barred door, not like a door, but like bars that create a door. So there's some actual rooms built into the wall that each one has just jail bars, and then there's also more cells that are just kind of in the middle of the room that are created from just adding more bars and things like that. And looking around, you see that the majority of the cells are not occupied, but you can see a few of them seem to have shapes in them that look to be people of some sort, though from where you are you can't really see who they are or if they're even like conscious. You can just tell that there are some shapes that are definitely humanoid body shapes.
I will kind of turn to the others. Looks like there may be people in there. I don't know what kind of shape they're in.
Concerned if we try to go to them now, it could just possibly be putting them in danger.
Can you tell? Can you tell them Is it more human or
I didn't get a good look. I just saw they were people shaped. Um, I, I mean, some of them may have been. This doesn't do how to tell the difference between a child and a dwarf. So
As you guys are having this conversation, Vala, you suddenly notice something out of the corner of your eye. You can see light from the other side coming down the Sis's stairs. And in addition to that, you hear the sound of metal scraping on Sis's stone. And a few moments later, you see this large, glowing armor, the massive shield on one side and a sword on its hip, kind of coming down. And as it gets there, it immediately, with purpose, kind of goes to one of these cells, opens it up, and then points at a figure. And you watch as this little kind of mound of clothing and blankets and stuff like that starts shifting and moving, and suddenly this very small tiefling girl gets up, and the expression that she has is very much one of fear, which isn't a bizarre thing to happen. Like, this is not just a suit of armor walking around. It has this evil kind of red glow. The helmet itself is not a kind of completely enclosed helmet. It has almost like a Mandalorian kind of look to it, very kind of Roman-esque shape, and there's like spikes and stuff on the armor. Like, it's a really intimidating looking suit of armor. And the little tiefling girl kind of looks, and she looks back at a few other kind of mounds of clothes, which you can see little eyes kind of peeking out of. She kind of sulks down and starts walking out as the large suit of armor kind of guides her up the stairs. You can see she's like this close to crying as she just goes up. And the door is closed. The door to the cell is closed right after she leaves.
well, we can. I'll just turn to the others and go. We could follow, and try to prevent what's about to happen.
So much for a good plan.
I mean, or we go back and try to find the kitchen again, and then try to stop them. But
Well, I could say we just totally scrap the kitchen idea. We could still try and bait them. The only question is if they go to the carriage house, they might notice about the runes being down.
And I mean, we did make a mess of those window things.
Well, that's the whole point. Like, I'm saying we would ambush them in the carriage house.
I see your point.
but can we really be biased to that about what we just saw?
I mean, I think you all understand my feelings.
No, I understand. Yes.
I think the sooner we do whatever we're going to do, the better.
Well, I mean, if we do follow them, that thing probably has clearance to go through. It's probably going to be walking through a dozen guards.
That's true.
As you guys are discussing this, you hear the familiar sound of metal scraping against stone. You see two more of these things come down, but instead of going to a particular cell, they just kind of stand near the entrance and stop.
Yeah, if we go, we'll have to fight through both of them first, probably.
Yeah.
That'll just
Unless we surrender ourselves and have them take us to their master. I know it's not my best idea.
Not ideal.
We could also just backtrack to the last hallway and see where that leads. It would probably lead us to them.
Right, yeah, we'll have to backtrack. maybe possibly we go back to that main room. To the room with the music being played, if that's where they're being guided to.
I mean, it's not the worst idea. My only other thought is, if there is the magic of this house, if there's a room where all of that is being controlled by, if we could find that, maybe we could somehow unanimate the armors.
Well,
I don't know.
Whatever we're going to do, we can't. It's not going to be done here.
Right.
No.
Let's go back up to the main room, to the main interchange.
Okay. So getting back there, that is not very difficult. Takes you better part of 5 minutes. There's only one pathway you haven't gone down. So, where you want to go?
I don't want to let my instincts blind us and lead us into a trap. So I think somebody else should decide.
Why don't we see where the last one goes first?
Okay.
All right. So as you guys start going down the last hallway, within about 5-ish minutes of you guys very carefully going, you start getting this kind of bad taste in the back of your throat, that kind of acidic, almost burning sensation right at the base of your right at kind of the back of your throat. And as you keep going, this hallway smells really, really bad, like rotted, fetid meat. And the further you go, the worse the scent gets. And again, it is very obviously rotting food. Spoiled meat, rotting potatoes, rotting vegetables. Like, it's just... Anyway, fun fact, if you've ever smelled rotting potatoes, you will never forget it for the rest of your life. It is such a distinct smell. And so, yeah, as you guys keep going, and you just the smell is so strong that you can taste it. You eventually get to another door that is hidden, like most of the rest of them, but you can tell whatever's on the other side of this door is rot. What would you guys like to do? Sorry,
I mean, rotting food is definitely a flavor.
The trays we saw, that had fresh tea and whatever, I would imagine.
You have not seen rotting food going around other than in this area. And technically you haven't seen anything, you've only smelled it.
I mean, check for traps, and we take a look at the very least.
Yeah, I will look for traps or warning sigils.
Sure. Another investigation check.
That is a 16.
As far as you can tell, there doesn't seem to be anything on here that would indicate a trap. Just because of how the door is made, it's a little difficult to be 100% certain, because the door itself, like a lot of the mechanism of the door, is like built into the walls and ceiling and that. So if there was a trap somewhere built in there, you wouldn't really be able to detect it. But there's nothing, as far as you can tell, that would indicate that the door is going to explode or anything.
All right. I will.
Rowan is wrapping his face up.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm covering my
Yeah.
face,
Mm-hmm.
and then I will carefully open the door.
Okay. As you open the door, you can see something kind of strange. You see a number of unseen servants kind of walking around this kitchen doing various things. Everywhere in this kitchen, you can see various bits of food. Like the kitchen itself is set up pretty well from a mechanics standpoint. Like it's got a prep area, it's got a really nice stove and everything, and multiple ovens and things like that. Like it's a really nice kitchen, but everywhere you look is just spoiled and rotten food. And the unseen servants are kind of going around and doing what you would expect kind of prep cooks and sous chefs to do with all this food. It's just all rotten. And they're creating what looks like really nice, expensive looking dishes full of rotten food. And there is one creature in this entire area that is not an unseen servant. It's this humanoid looking figure, but like its skin is hanging off of its bones. The eyes are immensely sunken in. The hair is very wispy. And before any bit of food leaves the room, you watch as he conjures two relatively simple spells. The first one is an illusion spell to make it look good. And the second one is prestidigitation to make it smell and taste good. And then it is sent out with an unseen servant. As you guys are standing there kind of watching, you hear the familiar sound of metal scraping against stone, and you eventually see the little tiefling girl come in. And the strange undead chef, for lack of a better term, kind of sees the girl. You see, since a lot of the mouth is kind of decayed away, it's kind of hard to tell what the expression he's making is, but it looks somewhat akin to a smile. And he kind of motions for the girl to come over. He goes over and gets this kind of big tray of food, puts it on her, and she kind of buckles a little bit under the weight for a second. And then he casts his two spells, and it looks amazing. Like this incredible spread of gorgeous food on this very big tray that this girl is just like almost unable to carry it because there's just so much stuff on there. And when it's first put in front of her, you watch as her face kind of turns green a little bit as the scent is just overwhelming. But after the prestidigitation and the minor illusion, she kind of looks at it, and you can see that she realizes that none of it is real. But it's at least easier to deal with. And the chef, looking at her, kind of shakes his head, and he casts another spell, and you watch as her clothing goes from this kind of ratted, mangled clothing into this very nice looking little dress, and a lot of the kind of discolorations and signs of malnourishment just kind of fade away, and she has nice rosy cheeks, or as rosy as they can be, with being a tiefling and her kind of base skin color being kind of a deep red. And everything just looks very, very nice. And again, Vala, you being familiar with magic in general, it's all illusion spells. Nothing's actually changing. But they're good illusion spells. And then the chef creature kind of pats her on the head, kind of turns her and pushes her a little bit to kind of go, and the armored creature thing kind of follows her out.
They do have an S rating on the wall.
Yeah, I mean, it looks old. Like, you think that that's probably, like, you're supposed to get inspected every, like, 6 months to a year. That one looks easily like 2 or 3 years old. But at one point it was S rated.
Oh,
See a
it's kinda
little
like,
cutout of a newspaper talking about the newest Michelin star restaurant in Crucitalia.
Oh, I know what this is. It's a ghost kitchen.
Oh!
oh,
Oh! Take inspiration for that, but you should be ashamed of yourself.
Um,
shame, shame, shame.
I love it. I really, really do. So, what do you guys want to do? I will say, everybody go ahead and throw me a Constitution saving throw.
It's waiting for the NPC D&D character Gorgon Ramsay to come through, saying it's all rotten.
How do you know that's not the chef right there?
I was gonna say.
So, let's start with Argenta this time. What do you got for me?
30.
30. You're fine. Liliane? Okay. Vala?
8.
8. Cool. Relwyn?
19.
19. Okay. So the rest of you guys, like, being this close to this much rotten food is remarkably unpleasant. You guys can feel your stomachs kind of starting to turn a little bit. You guys can start feeling like the bile start to slowly work its way up your throat. Vala, you lose it. And you guys, without even realizing what's going on, you watch as Vala just kind of doubles over for a second and empties the contents of her stomach onto the floor near you guys. And as that happens, all of the unseen servants kind of turn towards you. And let's let Vala do this. Choose even or odd.
Oh, I'm gonna go odd.
Okay. And the chef turns in your direction as well. Now, you guys are only peeking through the door, so it's not like you're in full view of anything, but the chef does seem to notice something is different over there, despite the fact that he can't really clearly see you. What would you all like to do?
I'm going to shut the door.
Okay. Go ahead and roll me a stealth check with disadvantage.
I mean, it seems like those hinges would be well lubricated
They
by.
very are, but you
Vala.
have the entire kitchen staring at you, so.
Well, with disadvantage, I only got a 23.
Yeah. You have no problem very slowly closing it. And if you guys wait for a moment or two, no one comes to open the door. So you think you're in the clear. So what do you all want to do?
I'll press digitate my mouth
Okay.
to remove the.
Relwyn gives Vala a ginger chew.
Oh, thank you.
Closing the door does help. Like, it still doesn't smell great in here, but closed door is significantly nicer.
So are we going to go through the music room or through Zombie Flay?
I like that one too.
I mean, it is Hell's Kitchen.
We are here to have
Yeah.
a rotted food throwdown.
I mean, I sanitizing power of flame,
Mm.
but I I vote music room, but
I'm sorry, I have to like Emerald Ghoul-Lassie.
I used to close the area.
Okay, enough undead puns of chefs.
Everybody else was doing it. Okay, so we could either try for the ambush in the music room, which what I'm guessing is going to have at least. They're going to, whether there's guards or not, there's going to be guards called. Unless we barricade the doors, but that's if we can. Or
That-
we can.
banish spell that you have
Hmm?
that returns people back to their native plane, right?
It does if they're not from here. But I
So-
don't know. But from what you've all explained to me, and I'm still trying to wrap my mind around this. If they're somehow tied to here, maybe this might possibly make this their native plane. He's bending reality.
Yes. Does native plane? Do they have to fill out like a change of address?
I
Or-
don't know how it works. You all literally just told me.
Why do we have to put a passport?
Relwyn starts learning a new 8th level spell called Deportation. Sorry, this is not a valid green card. Deported.
I mean, I'm just technically speaking. If you cast it on us, we would just go home. That's not helpful to the people here.
Yeah. Why didn't we see that before?
Don't know. Well,
Wait a
in
minute.
my defense, like that's such a high level spell that I didn't know those level spells existed until recently.
I mean, Banishment is a 4th level spell.
I mean, look, I have a lot of spells.
Anyway, what do you guys want to do?
Um,
So our options, as I see it, we either try to ambush in wherever this grand room is, which probably, if it has, we don't even know if it has multiple doors or not. We can do our best to try and inspect it. Or again, we try to bait them, but there's every possibility that when they go to the carriage house, they will notice the runes being down. Because normally, my understanding is, you wave your hands to make the runes go away, or you give a command, or you do something.
right.
Unless you somehow know how to reactivate them.
Make it look like they were active. But then we're just. If we try to jump them in the music room now, we have the element of surprise. We may be able to catch them unaware. But we're in their home turf. They could summon more guards,
Yeah.
anything like that. If we bait them to go down to the carriage house, it's the same. They can still call guards. We're still in their home turf, and there's the potential that they know that something is up. If we want to try that, I'm all for it. I just don't know. Aside from us being able to set a trap.
We've already fly into someone.
So far we've just hopefully rendered it so they can't
Yeah.
use it to recover.
I mean, it's a process of try. um, I mean, if we're going to face them on the own truth, we go through it. I would I'd rather have a bit of surprise.
What about the rest of you? Element of surprise is useful. Don't get me wrong.
I find Tyrannosaurus Rex is very surprising.
The problem. Okay. We can try it. She seems to be very adept at fighting off spells on her. And he seems to be very good at fighting, especially when it's in regards to keeping her safe, at least regards to motivation. We know he can. He did it with the carriage. He had things prepared. And we've seen animated armor. He would probably have some type of. We're going to be dealing with, if we fight him, we're going to be dealing with some type of animation. The only upside in a large room, depending on the size of the room, she might not be able to do bombastic spells, or it'd be harder.
Yeah.
May not want to wreck their stuff.
Yeah.
If we
I
do
mean,
thi-
remember the other royal title.
Yes. The one issue is, and I would believe that they would try this, if they have servants, they probably have servants in there. I have no doubt that they would simply tell us to stand down, or else they harm whoever. There's something going on. They're serving someone fake rotted food. Or pretending to. Keeping up a show or performing. So there's guests somewhere.
I can make one of us an unseen servant. Make us invisible, carry in a tray. Be able to get closer without being noticed, maybe.
That's just the one.
Wait, can I? Yeah, I can't.
As you guys are having this conversation, the door next to you opens and an unseen servant with a tray starts kind of just walking in, realizing that the passageway is a little bit crowded, just kind of looks at you with no expression because you can't see anything, but if you could, you would think they'd be kind of exasperated because they're trying to get through.
Come on. I'll like motion everybody forward, make room. Come on, guys, be kind to the retail worker right now. Come on.
So yeah, the unseen servant kind of goes past and the door closes behind him.
Where is he headed? Down
Just
the music hallway? Or-
Down. You guys are still in the you guys are still just outside of the kitchen, so it's going back to the hallway you guys were in. It's going back to the kind of linking room. But
I'm gonna follow him down that way and see which way he goes.
okay. So, as you follow him, he goes. to the boiler room. Or at least he goes down that hallway.
Hmm. All right.
So what do you guys want to do?
What did the tray that went by us? Did it actually have food on there, or did it have something else?
It had nothing on it.
Hmm.
Okay.
All right. So what are we thinking?
Do I see it? We see that their two options are we try to fight them in whatever this room is, or we try to bait them. Now we can either. And the baiting would simply be we wait for them stealthily in the carriage house, and we simply, the second they step through and they mount into the carriage, that's when we strike.
So we just wait for them to come out to us.
That's what I'm thinking. Otherwise, they will have somewhat of a home field advantage. We will have surprise, but at the same time, if they're entertaining anyone, there's going to be people. And it sounds like there'll just be people putting in danger.
Yes, but you're also. I'm assuming they're not together when they're at home. It'd take them time.
I mean, if they're hosting people, they're probably together.
Would they be? He doesn't seem too interested in her activities other than taking her to them.
Yeah.
Yes, I imagine
I
they're probably.
remember somebody was in the back. We don't know it. That him was a guy, I guess.
Well, you guys are deciding that. That's concentration, but it's not ritual. Vala will, in the interchanging room, start casting Scry.
Okay, what are you scrying on?
The little tiefling girl.
Okay. Yeah, is there a check built into scry?
Saving throw.
There's a saving throw. There's a modifier. Where depending on my level of knowledge on them, can help determine the save modifier.
Yeah. Okay, what's the spell save?
Uh,
Or what's your
19.
DC?
It's a 19 wisdom saving throw.
Okay. Surprisingly enough, small tiefling girls do not have a large wisdom modifier. Yeah, you have no problem. As you kind of focus in on this girl in your mind's eye, the first thing is you notice it's hard to tell exactly what's going on around here because you're focusing specifically on her. So further away from her you get, the more kind of blurry the image is. But as you focus, you see kind of like a kind of music parlor that she's in, and you can see that she's just kind of standing against a wall, not doing anything, and you can hear voices, but they're kind of faint because they're further away. But suddenly you watch as Elizabeth kind of walks over close to her, and you can see in her hand is some of the food that the little tiefling girl brought, still illusioned and everything. You watch her just kind of shoving it into her face as she's talking. And she seems to be having a conversation with her brother, but again, just because of how the scrying spell works, you're only getting bits and pieces of the conversation. But as far as you can tell, they seem to be alone in there,
Okay.
enjoying a meal.
All right, I will relay that to the others. Elizabeth ate the food.
Well, we already knew something was wrong with her.
Can you sense the position of undead?
I have to see them, for the most part.
What?
If I can get eyes on her, I could tell. That is not, unless she has something that's, if she doesn't care and she has something that lets her believe what she's eating is good, then either that or she's undead.
I mean, we've
I mean, I think the boat maybe, but I mean,
feel like, I mean, the spells that were cast on that food was illusion and prestidigitation. It's not going to change the texture of the food. It's not going to make the food edible.
But it looks and smells and it would taste, depending how far they go with the magic.
I mean, all the other people have been undone. So,
I mean, I can make a piece of dirt taste like cinnamon, but it's still going to be dirt.
Yes, I mean, oh yes, I understand. It, again, there's something else. We know there's something wrong with all of them. Was there other people you could tell, or was it just Elizabeth?
It seemed like it was. She was talking with what I believe to be Vinny. It's hard to get a exact feel unless I try scrying on one of them directly. Then I could get their part of the conversation. But then there's a chance that they'll know that I'm scrying on them.
Well, we know they're there and they're having a conversation, and she doesn't care enough that she's having a snack right now. So clearly they're relaxed enough to do that. Well, I mean, obviously they have to be planning what they're going to do next.
Vala's going to start walking down the hallway towards the music room.
Okay.
With those vents that amplify the music, maybe we can hear part of their conversation.
That's about what I was going to suggest.
yeah.
So as you guys are going, the music itself is relatively simple to hear from pretty far away. The closer you get to the end of the passage, the clearer you can hear that a conversation is happening. But it's not clear enough that you could pick out entire sentences and the things like that until you get very close to kind of the terminus of the passage. And this particular passage, unlike the rest where, again, it's stone and designed to be hidden, this one, it's wood, but it doesn't look like a door. It looks like the back of something. And you notice that there's a peephole on this side.
I am going to very carefully and quietly try to look through the people.
As you look through it, you can see that your vision is blocked on two sides by books. But you can see an impressive amount of the room itself. The room itself is most definitely a music parlor. It has kind of stadium style seating in it, where you have these kind of tiers. And where you are is on an upper to the tier, so you're kind of looking to the down. And at the bottom of this place is a stage. You can see that there's a piano, and there's also a violin just floating in the air playing itself. And you can see Vincent is sitting at the piano, but he's not playing. There's a little table next to it. You can see a little plate of food there that he's slowly kind of picking his way through, like an aristocrat would. Like he's using a knife and fork and things like that. And the only thing that's awkward is most aristocrats would sit down at a table to eat, and he's doing it much more casual. Elizabeth, on the other hand, is just kind of what's the word? Pacing. There we go. She's pacing around. She's exasperated. You can see her face is a little bit red, and she has this kind of plate that is just overflowing with food, and she will just randomly just take a handful of it and just kind of shove it into her face. And you watch, the more that she eats, you can see like her skin itself gets a little bit kind of pale and almost green looking as she eats it, and you can see her kind of almost struggle to keep some of it down, but she just keeps going. And the conversation that they're having, again, from where you are, you're not able to hear absolutely everything, despite the incredible acoustics of the room. There's still echoes and things like that that make it a little difficult. But you get the basic gist of what it is, and she is unbelievably upset over what happened. She keeps saying that you guys were cheating. Yes, Rowan?
Sorry, I would probably if Vala says that, he would ask very quickly, can you see them speaking? Can you get a clear view of them speaking? Vala?
Can I see their lips moving?
A little bit. You're looking through a kind of like a fisheye lens kind of thing,
Yeah.
so
Okay,
it's
then.
distorted.
Okay. I was
Good
gonna say,
idea.
Okay.
But yeah, you would. To be fair, Relwyn, you would probably get a little bit more of the conversation than Vala would, but not by much.
Okay.
But again, the basic gist of it, she's really, really upset that you guys were able to fight back, that the Eyes of the Skies didn't instantly nuke you, that this isn't fun anymore, and she's like, I should just go out and just start exploding houses. This is completely unacceptable. And Vinny is sitting there going, yeah, I know. You know, you're the one that wanted to play a game. We could have just killed them, but you had to have your game. And unfortunately, when you play games every so often, you lose. That's how games work. So maybe we stop playing games and we finish this, or we accept that they're very good at this game and maybe play a different game that they're not as good at. And as they're talking again, the little tiefling girl is by herself, just standing next to the wall. It seems to be mostly getting ignored. And you watch as Elizabeth is getting more and more upset. She suddenly kind of focuses on the girl. And you see this kind of evil look in her eye. And as she starts kind of going over to the girl, you see something really, really strange happen with Vincent. You see his facial expression stays the same. And then there's this like instant change, and it almost seems like his body starts moving without him really understanding, and he instantly jumps up and gets between Elizabeth and the girl. And when he's kind of standing there, he looks very, very confused, and suddenly you see him kind of wince in pain. And he kind of blinks. Just his shirt. Kind of looks down at his sister, because he's probably about a good head and a half taller than his sister. So he kind of looks at her and gives her this exasperated, and just kind of does one of these and directs her away. And you watch him just kind of rubbing his head as he goes back to sit down and kind of looking at himself.
What did he do that caused him to do that? I missed that part.
It was Elizabeth rounding on the little tiefling girl.
Oh, I know, but what did he do that caused the headache?
As far as you can tell, you're not sure. His body seemed to move on its own volition, and then he just winced like he was in an immense amount of pain, and then it was over.
All right.
But he got between Elizabeth and the tiefling girl.
Yep.
But did anything happen to her?
The girl looked scared, but judging
What?
body language and stuff like that, you could tell that Elizabeth had something planned for this girl, and Vincent moved in the way, and then completely out of character moved in the way. Excuse me. I need a drink. Whoa. Moved in the way, had that pain sensation, and then was back to normal, and just kind of almost condescendingly turn around and go back, and then went and sat down again.
What did Elizabeth do?
When he stood up, she stopped. Unfortunately, her back was to Vala, so you couldn't really see what was going on there, but she did stop for a moment. And then, after everything's over, she went back to the table to pile more food onto her plate and keeps shoving it into her face.
That's what I thought. He's rather unemotional and very devoted. I've been thinking there was a spell on him.
That would make. Seems to fit. Doing my best to kind of like peer around the room. Do I notice any orb-shaped orbs in the room?
Make me an investigation check.
14.
14. You have such a limited view of the room. You don't... I mean, there are orb-shaped objects in the room. None of them kind of leap out like the orbs that you guys were looking for.
I will just... I'm wondering if the orb that was keeping the little girl alive, I'm wondering if there's an orb that's keeping Elizabeth alive.
Or Vincent?
Or if that's why...
Or both
they-
of them.
or both of them. Or
They're
maybe
both-
the little girl is keeping them alive somehow. I mean, I know vampires drink blood, but is there like another type of vampire that like eats emotion? That, okay, they can survive on the suffering of a people?
Is that something I would be familiar with?
Possibly. Go ahead and make me a. I'll say, go ahead and make me either History or Arcana, whichever you like better. But you won't get your Ghost Hunter benefit because this is not an undead thing. But it is something you might have heard about. You're just not specialized in it.
Because of the nature of what Rowan has lived under, avoiding monsters in his village, would that also be applicable?
For you, unfortunately, not.
Okay.
This particular thing would be something you'd never heard of. Okay. So, the way that the world works, you have the prime material plane. Just on top of it, you have the Feywild and the elemental kingdoms on their own kind of like disc. Below it, you have the Shadowfell, and on either side of the Shadowfell on its own kind of disc, you have the seven hells of Tartarus and the seven heavens of Elysium. And that for the that's most of the planes that are acknowledged as far as planar travel. There is the ethereal plane, which is kind of this halfway point between those two shelves that you use sometimes. Outside of all that is the astral plane, which is a realm of where thought can manifest physically, and it kind of surrounds all of the different planes. So the astral plane in and of itself can actually be used to travel. It has been theorized that the astral plane could be a way to circumvent the fact that there's only one way to get from the prime material plane to the Feywild. There's a single gate in the Kingdom of the Kale Isles that allows transfer, and even interplanar travels like plane shift don't technically work to get you through that. You have to go through that gate. The same thing is true about getting to the Shadowfell. You have to go through that gate to get there. Once you're there, plane shift can get you from the various levels of hell and heaven and do that. And if you're in the Feywild, you can plane shift between the various elemental kingdoms and the Feywild and that. But whatever it is, there's this super thick barrier that prevents it from doing that. The astral plane, though, kind of goes everywhere. And the creatures that inhabit the astral plane are much more focused on psychic energy and thought than they are on physical nourishment. And you have heard of creatures that survive off of eating the not really dreams, but eating the psychic emanations from people. And one of the ways that you can make those emanations stronger is to make them feel stronger emotions. And fear and anguish and things like that are extremely strong emotions that are not particularly difficult to induce. So you have heard of creatures. Within 18, you can't remember what they're called or anything like that, but you are aware every so often you've heard of creatures like that being able to get from the astral plane to the prime material, and the few ghost hunters that have gone up against them have been very much out of their element. Creatures like this generally have the ability to stun you. The stories that you've heard are these strange kind of eldritch horror style creatures with like tentacles on their face and obscure their body in these strange robes, and simply looking at them can kind of cause you to question your sanity. Does that answer your question? I went on a bit of a tangent there, but
yeah. So about that. Stories that we both for the actual when that can do similar things to what you describing.
When you say this now, after everything else Rowan said, like, and then you say astral plane, Rowan just
There's another one?
you're making things. You have to be making stuff.
Wait till I tell you about the flavor plane.
Argenta goes way back into the bag of holding and pulls out the little sketch they made of the planar model from the one map they saw.
Sure. There's a plane of ice cream. There's a plane of ice cream and milkshakes too. There's
Yeah.
there.
It's a great plane to vacation on, let me tell you guys.
And I
Rowan is genuinely thinking, I just snapped. I snapped. I'm still in the village. I'm just dribbling and
Oh,
my mentor is just taking care of me.
As you're having your own psychotic break, Relwyn
Again.
and Vala, if you guys want to roll me an Arcana check.
sure.
Sure. Yeah, let's just. Yeah, 9.
9, okay.
Dirty 20.
30-20, okay. So Relwyn, you're dealing with cognitive dissonance right now. Like your brain is trying to understand how the world doesn't work the way you think it should.
5 + 5 = chair. I understand. Yes.
There was a post from earlier in the year. For anyone that doesn't know, Arizona voted and officially declared by passing a bill. It was signed into law by Katie Hobbs, their governor. Pluto is their state planet. Pluto isn't a planet. And so when I heard about that, I'm like, they had 8 choices. All of them could have been right answers, and they still got it wrong. That's like being given the option of A, B, C, or D, and you choose purple with a remainder of
Think I'm
kumquat.
disconnected.
It's just...
They chose Pluto. They got Uranus.
So, while that's going on with Relwyn, Vala, something about this is seeming very familiar to you. You yourself have not used a Gaius spell, but as part of your duty as the Inquisitor, getting people to do what you wanted them to do was important. And you were aware that there were people that would use the Gaius spell, which is basically an extreme version of a charm where you are just completely kind of dominated, and it lasts for a month. There are limitations to the Gaius spell, like doing things that are actively harmful to you can give you additional chances to try and shake it off. And once per day, a creature under the Gaius spell can attempt to resist it. And if they fail, they actually take psychic damage. So thinking about that and how Vincent reacted, it doesn't work exactly like a Gaius spell. Obviously, this is something significantly more advanced than that, but it does remind you of what happens if you were to fail a Gaius check, basically. It looks very similar to where the person, while they're just living their life, for a brief moment they will hesitate. You'll see this look of pain, and then they're completely back to normal. Now, you've never heard of anyone being able to do more than just kind of not, like, stop what they're doing. Like, if you make your save, it's not like you can go and do what you want. You just are able to resist doing a single task. Being able to literally get up and do something seems to be outside the realm of how a Gaius spell would work. But That's the closest thing that you can come to an explanation for what just happened. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Rowan's gonna he's gonna collect himself after having yet another existential psychological break. It's also concerning in the back of his head how much he's recovering from this every time. It's like, okay, I'm back in the real world again.
What?
Well,
What?
no, that would be the
Yeah.
prime material plane. This is
I will smack you. I will smack you.
What is real?
sorry.
I'll
Rowan,
just
we'll-
cast Sunburst right now.
Oh, okay, Rowan.
These are
You-
these these are the brother and sister of your friend,
yes,
Commander.
Yes.
yes.
What do you know of your friend, Commander?
He's very secretive. We don't know his name, but what I can guess is that he was
They said
no,
Booker.
yes, Booker. But from what I understand, he was nobility. Something happened with his mother, and he fled. He didn't have a good relationship with his brother or sister. He didn't talk well of them when we originally ran into them when I first arrived in this place you grew up in.
Was he adopted? Or is
No,
he?
no,
Or
I remember I confused him. I confused his brother for him. They look nearly exactly alike. I think they're twins.
is it possible Booker was also like them?
I don't think so. He didn't give off evil vibes.
Well, I mean
No.
evil. I just mean like the entities like Lily Haynes describing.
No, no.
He had weird eyes. I'm sure the rest of you noticed he had like that purple in his eyes.
Yeah, that's so familiar.
I look around. I don't know many humans, but the humans I've seen tend to not
No.
have purple eyes.
Mm. But,
Sorry, I have to point this
yeah.
out. It even has it in my notes. Rowan has purple eyes.
But you're not human. The only human here is Lillian.
I just thought that was funny.
What kind of freak has purple? Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. Sorry.
Rowan is raising his mace. I'm getting more comfortable all the time.
I will. When that day comes, I will probably deserve it. It's fine.
No.
Rowan, you said if you saw them, you could tell if they were undead.
Possibly. I mean,
Me
I'll try.
and
I'll try
Brian-
through. I'll try through the peephole, and I'll use
Brian,
Eyes of the Grave.
what we have to-
Does what I think? Would I be able to tell looking through a peephole would be enough, or do I actually have to like be in a room with someone?
I mean, there are certain signs that there are physical signs that something is undead. Like
Yeah.
even for like a really powerful lich, it is remarkably difficult.
At first, I thought they were undead, but then after what Liliane described, I'm like, they're just really good at making their brains and body behave.
Yeah, as far as you have not had any indication that would make you think that they are undead. Physically, like normally, like undead, like one of the most common giveaways for an undead creature like a lich or something like that, even a really powerful one that's using illusion magic, there's a scent. Like the scent of death is really, really hard to mask.
Yeah.
And in general, because the physical form, like an undead creature, looks undead. So in order to cast enough spells to make them not look undead, they don't really have the ability to also mask the scent. So most undead creatures that are attempting to pass as regular people will wear some sort of perfume or something to mask their scent. And most people won't be able to realize it, but with how often you've had to deal with dead things in general from being a death cleric effectively, that scent of death, even when it's masked by roses and stuff like that, is very noticeable. And you've never smelled that from them. You haven't been near them very often, but again, it's something that's very, very noticeable.
And I will say, between yourself, Lillian, and I, we're like ringers for undead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, is it possible that they're undead? You guys have seen over and over and over again things that shouldn't be possible happen in this realm. The orb that you guys just dealt with, again, that little girl, there was no indication that she was undead in any way, shape, or form. That orb did something that shouldn't be possible. And you guys have seen that over and over and over again in this realm. Things that shouldn't be possible are possible. So is it possible that there's something else that's causing them to be undead and be completely undetectable? Absolutely. But you have nothing, as far as you can tell, there's nothing pointing to them being undead.
I was gonna say, so, but if I use Eyes of the Grave right now through the peephole,
If you want to do that, you can. Eyes of the Grave is a visual thing, so it would work through the peephole because it's modifying how you see things. So if you want to burn one of those, I can tell you what you see.
okay.
Okay.
Do you need me to put it in chat or anything about it?
If you'd be so kind,
no.
because I don't remember exactly what it tells you.
There.
Crackpot theory while you're doing that. They're Warhammer 40k orcs. They're part fungus, which is why they're eating rotting food.
One of my favorite things about Warhammer 40k is the idea that orc magic is just a kind of collective belief, so that if they believe something strong enough, it will work, which is why there's a certain color that I think they like paint things and it makes it impossible for them to be able to break it or something like that. It's not because there's any magic, it's because their collective belief is so strong that they just believe that that's how it works. And that's how orc magic works, is they just believe. And it kind of breaks reality. I love that. Okay. Yeah, so using this ability, you don't get any indication that they are undead in any way, shape, or form. You can also see the girl, and she doesn't seem to be undead either. Again, there is a limitation that if they're protected from divination magic, it wouldn't work. But Vala just scryed on the girl and
That's
was
true.
able to see, when they came close, was able to see Elizabeth and Vincent. And if they were immune from scrying in some way, they just wouldn't appear. They'd be like a hole. So you are as confident as you can be that they are not undead.
But Vincent is definitely under some type of something similar to a Gaia spell, or seems to be.
That could be possibly the Dark Lord.
Yeah.
And if we could remove that from him,
I think that is it entirely. You said that Commander fled because various reasons, whatever horrible thing was going on with his family. It's also possible whatever they're under is just to keep them in line and make sure that they do whatever they're going to do. They confine it to this town.
you're saying if we undo that, then they would just go even worse.
That's a concern that we're effectively letting them off their leash.
Hmm.
They both. I have to imagine, even under the best of conditions, this. Because we also saw the results of people under Gaish before with uh, someone else's friend of Argenta.
Oh
Bo.
yeah, that was.
They were compelled to a point, but
There are limitations to the Gaius
Yeah.
spell. It's an extremely powerful spell, but there's still limitations to it. And whatever is affecting these two has gone past those limitations.
yeah, it's like Rowan says, like, do you a magic that makes someone a complete bitch and an unfeeling bastard?
Yeah.
I mean, no, they may still be a bitch and a completely unfeeling bastard, but they may just not want to torture this town.
Well, she seems to derive a lot of joy from that. I'm not sure if magic can enhance
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no, that bad.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm not an expertise on this by any stretch of the imagination, but compulsion to a point, and then there's this. They have to be stopped,
I
Yeah.
agree.
and they seem to be whatever they're doing. Also, remember they're in command of this town. Now, if someone's pulling their strings, that's entirely possible too. But she's giving the command to detonate homes.
Yes.
Yeah.
As you all are discussing this, you can see the food itself is starting to run out. And Elizabeth kind of takes the remainder of the food, throws it on the tray, and kind of just gives the tray to her and kind of does one of these things. And the little tiefling girl curtsies and is led out by one of these strange armor things.
We're gonna do anything.
What do you all want to do?
Could we tell if there was more? You said this is like a theater, yes?
Yeah, it's a music parlor. So there's basically there's a stage at the bottom, and then there's tiered seating. And you guys are, as far as you can tell, you guys are looking out from a bookcase. So you can't see the back wall, and you probably can't see the first tier or two of seating. So there's probably about 10 feet of space that you can't see simply because you're a bit focused.
Okay. But I was wondering if there's more than one entry point, or
There would have to be.
Okay.
The way normally a music parlor would work is you have the audience entrance, which would be in the back. You'd come down to get to your seats.
Oh, I understand that. I just wondered if this was like a bit so big that it has multiple entrances.
From what you can see, there's the stage itself has an entrance for the performers on either side.
Okay.
And you don't see, because you can see some of the walls as they get further down, you don't see any doorways on any of the walls that you can see. And doing just like quick math and stuff like that, the room itself is decent size. It's not quite large enough that you would think it would have multiple quote unquote audience entrances. You're pretty sure that there's a single door that leads into this, because it's not a massive room. It's like a home theater.
Single door for the audience, possibly another one at the back for the stage.
Yeah, and you can the girl, the tiefling girl, just walked out through one of the stage doors. The stage itself, there's a stage left and a stage right door that they can leave through.
So we know there's at least minimum of at least two doors to entering here.
Mhm.
Okay, so we can either spring an attack here, or we can try the bait spell. And I was thinking simply Vala sends a message to... Vincent seems the clever one. She seems the impulsive one. If
Fireball is a very effective message spell.
you, I think at this point you know enough to send her a message and that will piss her off and make her storm off.
Fireball.
A fireball would prepare them. We want to spring a trap. Also, she seems to shrug off fire.
Yeah. Why
By the
not,
way,
huh?
I'm hoping banishment will work temporarily, but again, she shrugs off a lot.
She does. I have a really cool spell I could try on her. I can enter her dreams.
With what we ascertain, I'm not even sure if they do dream, or if they fall
Find
asleep.
out. But
That's going to also hope that they're going to go to sleep anytime soon.
yeah,
But we also know for a fact they've got several long rests, at least twice.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
I will say you guys can see because the back of the music parlor is windows, so you guys can see it's getting really, really late at this point. Probably like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night.
No.
But from our new information, if they are psychic, I don't know if you want to go into their dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I'm up for whatever plan the group wants to do.
I'm just throwing that out there. Like, I'm sure if you can target her with a message spell and piss her off enough and make her storm enough to, like, she leads the charge. If she's leading the charge first, then she might not. Then she might just storm into the carriage room,
Yeah.
and then we spring on them when they come into the carriage. Come into the carriage house.
Based on our memories of the carriage house,
Mm-hmm.
were there like places to hide in there?
Not particularly. Like that whole building is really just there to have a place to keep the carriage safe and to do any kind of maintenance that would be required. Though this particular, because it's a magic item, there's really no maintenance. Like it doesn't wear down. It doesn't get damaged.
I mean, we could probably have people hiding kind of on either side of the door, kind of far away towards the walls. Somebody could be hiding in the carriage itself.
I'm gonna guess unseen servants get the horses.
Yeah.
As you guys are discussing this, you suddenly hear a loud noise from the room, and Vala, as you kind of look in, you can see it seems like Vincent has yelled at Elizabeth, and as you kind of strain to hear, you can hear, "I understand you're upset. Let's get some rest. Tomorrow morning, you can go out, blow up a few houses, lure them out, and then you can have your way with them. But right now, you need some actual sleep." "But Vinny, I don't..." "Not another word. We're done with this." "Fine. You see her start walking up the steps to, you assume, the door.
Well, it sounds like they're about to go to sleep.
Do we want to let them?
Oh, I don't think. I mean, I think we let them start to go to sleep.
Yes, because I think if we do call them out, that they'll simply just go, well, we'll come at you at our leisure.
Right. Well, I mean, once in 2 hours, I can send a message and wake her up, and see if she bothers even getting Vinny if she comes at us alone.
Yeah, that could work.
As you guys are sitting there, Vala, something feels off about the room. You look back and you can see Vincent just standing in the music parlor by himself. And you can hear that he's saying something, but it's really, really quiet. Make me a perception check with disadvantage.
Oh, 16.
16, okay. It's really hard to hear, but you focus, you kind of press your ear up to the door, and you watch as Vincent walks over to where the food used to be, and there's still kind of silverware there, and he kind of places his hand down on there. You can hear, kind of under his breath, "You really think you have control here? I hope it felt good. I hope it felt really good. Because that's the last time you get to do that." And you see him pick up a fork and jam it into his own hand.
Oh, shit.
You watch for a brief moment as everything about him changes. The kind of stoic, emotionless form stops, and you watch him just collapse to the ground. You can see him kind of weeping and sobbing for a moment. And then, like a light switch, everything's back. He pulls out the fork, kind of looks at the wound, which is bleeding pretty nicely at this point. And he goes over and he takes a napkin and wraps it. And then heads off.
I'll relay that to everybody else. So he was having a conversation with somebody. Somebody forced him to go and step in front of his sister.
Maybe. Or maybe he was overriding another force. And there's only two I can really think of: the Dark Lord and the Shadow Entity.
What if? Oh, what if? No. What if him stepping in front of his sister was Vinny?
No, that's what I'm saying. I think it was Vinny. Again, I think he's been controlled the whole time. No one acts like he does.
So we do need to get him off the leash.
Yeah.
I'll be entirely honest. I fought him for 12 seconds. He's more dangerous than his sister is.
So how do we break a Gaia spell?
This will sound insane to you, insane to Rowan. 9th level, Dispel Magic.
I say we could try, but you also have to remember, like, he wants to fight it, so that could also help as well. This is
Yeah.
this is a variation off of the spell, a very complex. Someone is playing around and weaving magic outside of
If we
a
could
lot of
sneak,
experts.
we could sneak into his room while he's asleep.
Would a ring of mind shielding be able to protect somebody from a Gaia spell.
It's not
Technically-
telepathic control.
Yeah, technically, a ring of mind shielding simply prevents someone getting into your head. If they're already in your head, it wouldn't stop them. It's kind of like closing the door when the killer's already in the room with you. It doesn't really stop anything.
Wait one second.
So what do you guys want to do? At this point, the music parlor is empty. You don't, quote unquote, see any unseen servants. Or wait, no, you do. You do see something come in to kind of pick up the remainder of the plates and everything, the thing there, and kind of clean up. And then it goes out through the stage exit. This one comes from stage left. The tiefling girl exited from stage right. Other than that, it's quiet, pristine.
Well, if they're gonna sleep, so we go back to the Kira's room.
It's up to you guys.
If we did that, we'd be here all night. If we want to get to him alone so that we can potentially see if we can
Yeah.
break the spell, we'd have to sneak into his room.
Right. Which I don't know that we've seen a way for these corridors to intersect with the rooms, other than I assume the bath room would be near them.
As far as you can tell, the collection of servants' passages that you guys have discovered don't have any access to their rooms. It's possible that there's another set of servants' passages that are meant for getting in and out of their rooms, or it could just be that the servants only go into their rooms when they're not there to clean and things like that. But
Right.
you also haven't found the servants' quarters, despite the fact that all the servants here are unseen servants. A manor house like this would have a servants' quarters area, because it normally would be staffed by actual people.
Right.
And unless they have like the ability to see through spells and such, if we could all be invisible and then pass without trace on us, we might be able to creep through.
For the record, I do not know how to cast invisibility.
Okay.
I think I did at one point, then I forgot it. I just kind of like shoved that spell out of my head and put a different one in.
Probably fire related.
I mean, invisibility, it doesn't even it's like the anti-light spell. It's like not darkness. That's
And who wants to make a fire if nobody can see that you made it?
if you make a fire, nobody sees it. Doesn't really burn anything.
Anyway, unfortunately, that is where we're going to end it for tonight. As always, if you missed any of this, I do upload all these to my YouTube channels, youtube.com/TrainerJody. As a reminder, December 2nd, 9 p.m. Central Time, we will be going live right here, twitch.tv/TrainerJody. We will be going live with our Session 0 for Metroid Inquest, my December campaign that is all Metroid themed, and we're using the Lancer RPG. It's going to be lots of fun. But otherwise, Again, it's going to be all for me today, and I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.